Hey guys, Kenny Castor here, once again, bringing you a blue-white-red control deck today. It top-aided the Open and won the Open, this double standard one the last weekend. So we're giving it a try today, see what it's all about, see if we can win some matches or some games. Just going over the deck a little bit, we've got, basically, I'll start off over here, and these are what I'd like to call our win conditions, or if we ever keep them in play for multiple turns, we'll win the game. We just got Aetherling, we've got a couple Jays, Tamiyo. The main deck from the Open had an Assemble the Legion in the main deck, which I'm not really a big fan of just because of the pure fact that like one of the biggest decks in the format, which is Reanimator, is playing Acidic Slime main deck. So we don't want to really get our win conditions slimed. And like I said, you know, if we can keep it in play for multiple turns, that's one of the cards that like, oh, well, it's in play for a couple turns. Now you have with like 3 or 4 tokens, and then it gets slimed. So we're trying not to give in to the best deck in the format. We've got Snapcaster Mages. They just keep the cards and keep the removal spells coming. Whether you need to draw a card or you need to burn something, then you know it really just helps with the flow of the deck. Along with Think Twice. From the Open, they also had 3 Think Twice in it and 3 Azorius Charm, which I do like the full set of Azorius Charm just because of the sheer fact that on the front side of both these cards is like draw a card, and then on the back side, you know, you can either draw another card with Think Twice, or you can give your Aetherlink Lifelink and race an aggro deck, or you can put a creature on top and try and race an aggro deck, or, you know, just stop the bleeding. But I do like that it is like basically just 3 modes versus 2 modes. As well as Sphinx's Revelation, well, I guess not really as well as, but moving right along, it just keeps the cards flowing just like the Think Twices and the Azorius Charms. But once you get to a certain point and you revelate, you know, for 4 or 5, you're pretty much winning the game. Whether it's the life or the cards that you need, then you just get the best of both worlds. We've got some counter spells. The list from the Open did have an Essence Scatter, which I'm also not really a fan of, so we went ahead and axed that from the main deck. Just because, I mean, there is Cavern Souls and people do play it, so like, if you're ever in a situation where it's just dead, and I know that a lot of times, you know, Cavern's only going to name 1 creature type, and there's multiple creature types, but you don't ever want a dead card in your deck. So I've got the 1 Syncopate. I like 1 Syncopate just because, like, if you do play it on turn 2 in game 1, they're going to play around it the rest of the match. Dissipate, just a hard counter spell. Once you've revelated for like 5 or 6, it really just locks the game up for you. Now to our removal, we have Supreme Verdict, which I just wanted to play 4 of because like if you don't have a Verdict on turn 4 in a lot of matchups, you're just gonna die. Like even if you do have some of the spot removal early, they just like all the creatures cost like 1 or 2 mana, and some of them even cost 0 mana. Burning Tree Emissary, and they can just really overrun you really quickly. Turn and Burn I like a lot, especially against like the Jund decks or the mid-rangers, Thragtusk decks, where it's obviously good and obviously just makes Thragtusk a 1-for-1, kind of. Not counting the life gain, but it's there just, you know, it's for a catch-all. After you Verdict, it's a very good removal spell. It's going to kill anything for the most part. Not hexproof or, you know. Searing Spear, just for the Flint Hoof boards that are running around. There's not 4 of them, which in like previous blue-white-red decks, there's just been 4 of them because like the metagame has shifted. As well as War Leader's Helix. I do love the addition of this card into the deck. I feel like after you do Wrath, and it's like one of the Turn and Burn cards, it's where it's like very, very good after you Wrath, and then it just catches you back up and brings you back to where you were as far as life goes, and then it'll instantly kill a creature for the most part. There's a 1 of Terminus, basically just as the 5th Wrath in the deck. There's a few more in the sideboard, but we'll go over that later. We've got Pillar of Flames and the 1 Detention Sphere. There's 2 more Pillar of Flames in the sideboard for, like I said, those really aggressive 1-drop decks. And the Detention Sphere is kind of just a catch-all for when you need to draw your whole deck and revelate. Then you can like maybe kill a Planeswalker if you need to, or, you know, just like I said, it's just a catch-all for anything. And then we have all of our lands. We've got so I have 4 Sacred Foundry and 3 Steam Vents, where most lists are playing 4 Steam Vents and 3 Sacred Foundry, but I feel like it's really important that you need to be able to get the double wide on 4, so you can Verdict. And because like a lot of times if, I understand that like all these are very blue dependent, and so is the Dissipate, but these are really like late game cards, and you're only casting them once you've already taken control of the game. So you don't want to play them until, I mean, like you should have like your mana defined and everything out where you need to be, and then you start casting these spells. Versus like Wrath is one that's going to catch you back up, and you need to be able to cast. But we'll go over the sideboard in just a second, and basically the rest of it, just all the ally lands and then the dual lands, and then we've got a couple basics, so maybe we don't die too much to the aggressive decks, save a little life total. And then we have the One of Desolate Lighthouse, which I am a fan of, and lots of people tell me it's not a real card, but I do like it, and it has won me several games. So we'll move right along to the sideboard, and I'll see you guys in a second. All right, so now we're back to the sideboard. I wanted to split it up just so you guys could get a good picture of it. Basically, these are all the removal spells we have over here, and then we've got like our more win conditions type of package over here, and then we've got some counter spells, and then our clones, which are just kind of catch-alls versus like any Thragtusk deck is very good. I wanted more Terminus, just more Wraths against like the one-drop decks, as well as like Pillar of Flame and the War Leader's Helix. War Leader's Helix out of the sideboard has been, I played a little bit with this deck last night on Magic Online, and it just seemed very powerful. I don't know if like eventually maybe there'll be more in the main deck, and you can move towards like a type of deck like that. But I mean, for right now, just gonna try out the one on the sideboard and see if it even deserves a spot in the main deck. I did want another Detention Sphere, just because like another little catch-all thing. You also might notice that there are no Renounce Guilds on the sideboard. It doesn't really synergize with Detention Sphere, and you're going to bring them both in against decks with like Boros Reckoner and like Assemble the Legion. Also, the counter spell is just 2 negate, 1 dispel. I'm sorry. I wanted to double the number of counter spells that are in my main decks whenever you sideboard. You take out like some of the Wraths when you're playing against like a bigger deck, more like Esper, or even Jund. Probably not the dispel against Jund, but definitely the negates if they have like Rakdos Returns or Planeswalkers, just things that can be kind of annoying, and you really need to keep the tempo flowing. The clones, I mean, like I said, they're good with Thragtusk. Any deck that has Thragtusk, they're very good. As well as like killing Olivia, or even if you top deck it off of like if they like play Sire of Insanity, you can just draw it, and then it's kind of a removal spell in some aspects. And there's 2 more Aetherlings in the sideboard, as well as there's a Jason Memory Adept, and these are like, it says, for the bigger decks like Esper that are gonna like try and drown you out. You really want something that you can just kill them with, versus like just playing Drago. That's not really a matchup where you can say Drago, because like I said, they have the Drown Yards that do kill you in the end. And hopefully we'll be able to get a few games with this, so we'll see what happens.